Shabbat Shalom, and welcome this morning to our service, which will be led by our Bat Mitzvah, Zoey Covington. We're going to begin with Matovu, which is part of our Torah portion for this week, which Zoey will explain later on in the service. When a young girl or boy becomes a bar bat mitzvah, it means that they are now of age to be responsible for the mitzvot, for the commandments. So this is the first time that this young person will wear a talit, a prayer shawl, because at the end of it are strings and knots that remind us of the mitzvot. So this morning, Zoe's parents are going to offer her and give her the talit, and she will say the blessing for putting the talit on. Johanna and Rick.
The talit is the prayer shawl which is worn by many Jews when they say their morning prayers. As we wrap this talit around our child, we ask her to recite the following blessing.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lahitatef b'tzitzi.
Amen. Go ahead, Zoe. Zoe is going to speak about what this all means to her.
May my life be one link in a chain of goodness as I say the prayers of my ancestors. Help me to recall their devotion and faithfulness, their joy and suffering, which are in every word. Holiness is my heritage. May I be worthy of it. May our tradition live in me and pass from me to generations I shall never know, enriched by the truth that I have found and the good deeds I have done, so I may fulfill my task on earth and receive my blessing. And when the service ends and the prayers have ceased, help me bring their spirit into the world which I live. May I love God above all and my neighbor as myself, and be a living witness to the truth that never changes.
We continue with Nisim B'chol Yom, the miracles of every day.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamavir sheno me'anai utnuma me'afapai.
Praise to you, Adonai, our God, sovereign of the universe, who removes sleep from the eyes, slumber from the eyelids.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam she'asani b'tzelem Elohim.
Praise to you, Adonai, our God, sovereign of the universe, who made me in the image of God.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam she'asani ben chorin.
Praise to you, Adonai, our God, sovereign of the universe, who has made me free.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam she'asani Yisrael.
Praise to you, Adonai, our God, sovereign of the universe, who has made me a Jew.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam ozer Yisrael b'gevuro.
Praise to you, Adonai, our God, sovereign of the universe, who girds Israel with strength.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam oter Yisrael b'tifara.
Praise to you, Adonai, our God, sovereign of the universe, who crowns Israel with splendor. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu la'asok b'divrei Torah. Blessed are you, Adonai, our God, sovereign of the universe, who hallows us with mitzvot, commanding us to engage with the words of Torah.
And Hannah Schlesselberg and Eva Young, two good friends of Zoe's, are going to say a special prayer for our teachers.
For our teachers and their students and the students of the teachers, we ask for peace and loving kindness, and let us say Amen.
And for those who study Torah, here and everywhere, may they be blessed with all they need, and let us say Amen.
We ask for peace and loving kindness, and let us say Amen. We ask for peace and loving kindness, and let us say Amen. We ask for peace and loving kindness, and let us say Amen. We ask for peace and loving kindness, and let us say Amen.
Zoe is going to offer a history project to you. And I suggest that you listen very, very carefully, because there will be a quiz at the end, and that's not a joke.
For my history project, I decided to investigate the history of several customarily Jewish foods. I did this because I really love to cook and I think food is very interesting. So my mom and Rabbi Singer suggested that maybe I could do something with food. I decided to do the history of a few popular Jewish foods. I chose hamantashen, challah, and jelly donuts. As I researched the history of these foods, I found something that they all have in common, is that when Jews spread around to different parts of the world, like Germany and Poland, and so many other places, our customs changed and we picked up lots of fun traditions involving food along the way. So these are a few foods that have been influenced by different parts of the world where Jews have moved around to. Hamantashen. On Purim, it is customary to eat hamantashen. They come in many flavors, including raspberry, prune, apricot, and of course poppy seed, along with any other flavors you like. This festive treat was not always a Purim treat. Montaschen or poppy seed pockets were a popular German pastry dating from medieval times. Sometime between the 18th and 19th centuries, German Jews began eating Montaschen on Purim and renamed them Hamantaschen. It was a play on words because Mon sounds like Haman. And for the origin of a Purim-specific pastry, however, we have to go back even further, this time to Italy during the late 1500s. It is here that the tradition of eating a Haman-related pastry is first born, from a Jewish-Italian Purim play. The play, which utilized satire to represent the idea that Jews were commanded to eat Haman's ears during Purim. It was yet another blending of cultures, marrying the idea of manna with the old Italian custom of cutting off a criminal's ears prior to execution and taking advantage of another play on words. The original pastries were thus called Oznei Haman, meaning Haman's ears. Interestingly, Israelis continue to call them Oznei Haman to this day. It was said that Haman wanted the Jews dead, so he plotted to convince the king to kill them all. But in the end, the Jews were saved. We eat these cookies on the holiday Purim to celebrate the saving of the Jews and to remember what Haman tried to do to us. Since the cookie both represents the wicked Haman and is sweet, and we in a sense have turned something wicked into something sweet. Challah. Challah, the fluffy, braided, eggy, sweet bread we eat on Shabbat today, has come from a blending of ideas and cultures. The Talmud tells Jews on Shabbat to recite the hamotzi over 2 loaves of bread to commemorate the double portion of manna during our Exodus. But the bread we customarily eat on Shabbat was not originally called challah. Instead, the term challah refers to the portion of bread that Jews are commanded to give as an offering. These donated portions were about the size of an olive and had to be handed over to the priests for their sustenance, so they could focus on their divine service. It wasn't till the early 1400s that people started referring to the whole loaf as challah, and this attributed to a specific text, like the Leket Kosher, written by Rav Yosef ben Yosher, a rabbinical student of the leading rabbi of the time, Rav Yisrael Israelian. While the original Shabbat bread was an ordinary bread, the adding of ingredients like egg, sugar, and even sesame seeds were intended to make the bread more manna-like, to tie it closer to the symbolism and purpose in the Shabbat meal of remembering the double portion of manna we are provided with. Challah, which now refers specifically to the special Shabbat bread, has taken on many different forms and ways that people prepare and eat it. The bread took on a Hungarian costume of poppy seeds. It is soaked up in orange blossom water in Liba and mixed with pumpkin in Spain. This is because different cultures adapted it to make it their own. The Jews who made their way over time to Central and Eastern Europe, challah evolved it in the fluffy, eggy bread that we enjoy today in the United States. Jelly donuts. Jelly donuts were also not originally a Jewish food. In tracing the evolution of the jelly donut, I learned that the earliest version of a donut was from North Africa and is called sveni. It was a deep-fried pocket of dough filled with savory foods. With the import of sugar from the Caribbean in the 16th century, the price of sugar dropped and sweets became a much more common treat. In 1532, sveni worked its way into a German cookbook as a jelly-filled sandwich-shaped pastry, deep-fried in lard. Within 100 years, this version spread all across Europe and adapted different characteristics, blending with each culture. During this time, Jews in Poland first adapted them for Hanukkah by substituting the lard oil instead to make them more suitable as a symbolic Hanukkah food. Polish immigrants brought the tradition with them when they came to Israel, where Israelis gave them a new name, sufganyo. The term sufganyo is derived from the Hebrew word for sponge, which is appropriate because the donuts soak up the oil. Hanukkah is also a time we eat lots of fried foods, so this was done intentionally so that people would associate the jelly donuts with Hanukkah. So as you can see, all 3 of these foods were greatly impacted by the customs and traditions of other cultures throughout the world as Jews immigrated through our long history. Making this realization leads me to wonder why not only about the evolution of other customary foods, but also about the origins and adaptations of the other aspects of Jewish culture, practices, and traditions.
And now get ready for the quiz.
Hamantaschen evolved from a non-Jewish food originating in which country? What were the original Hamantaschen filled with, meat and cheese, tomato, or poppy seeds? Why did German Jews change the name of Montaschen? Absolutely no reason.
Play on words because it came in or they didn't.
I will make.
I think we can't vote because we're a co-host.
Oh, all right. Let me unco-host you since, yeah, okay. And
Oh, there we
Hannah-
go. Now that works.
All right.
Awesome.
So now
Go ahead and mute ourselves.
What did the term challah originally refer to? The whole thing has always been called challah, one strand of the braids, a small piece given as an offering to the priest. How is challah prepared in Libya? With pumpkin, soaked up in orange blossom water, or dry? What was the significance of sweetening the challah? To make it more like manna, so it would taste better, or it was a happy accident? What were jelly donuts originally filled with? Sugar, no filling, or meat and cheese? Which immigrants brought the donuts over to Israel and helped to spread the custom of eating jelly donuts on Hanukkah? Spain, Polish, or Italian? What do all three of these foods have in common? They were all originally savory. They were all originally Jewish. They have evolved from or have been influenced by other cultures.
Zoe, go ahead and read the answers.
Hamantaschen evolved from a non-Jewish food originating in which country? The answer, Hamantaschen evolved from Montaschen, which was a popular German pastry dating back from medieval times. What were the original Hamantaschen filled with? The answer is the original Hamantaschen were filled with poppy seeds because they came from Montaschen or poppy seed poppy. Why did German Jews change the name of Montaschen? Because it was a play on words because Haman sounds like Mon. What did the term challah originally refer to? The answer is challah originally referred to a small piece of the loaf which was given as an offering to the priest. How is challah prepared in Libya? The answer is it's soaked up in orange blossom water. What was the significance of sweetening the challah? And it was to make it more like manna. Jelly donuts were originally filled with savory fillings like meat or cheese rather than sweet fillings like custard and jelly. Polish immigrants brought the tradition with them to Israel. And then all three of the foods have evolved or have been from or have been influenced by other cultures.
Okay, actually, people did quite well overall. Wouldn't you say? What grade would you give them overall, Zoe?
A plus probably.
A plus, whoa, okay, good for everybody. Mazel tov. All right, we're going to continue with the Chatzi Kat, number 9. She answered number 9. Somebody just asked, did anyone get 100%? I don't know, we'll find out later. The number 9 was they all evolved from different cultures. Okay, onwards with the Chatzi Kaddish, which is a punctuation between different parts of the service.
Yekara v'yekara shmei rabba ve'oma divra chute ve'om likma chute ve'chaya honu yom honu payediko be'Yisrael ba'agala uzman kari v'imro amen ve'heshmei rabba mavora ve'alalu me'omaya yipara v'yishkaba v'yipa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh v'yithadar v'yitalel v'yitalal shmei d'kudisha b'rihu Le'elam min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nehemata, da'amiram ve'ama v'imru amen.
We continue with the Baruch Hu, which is the official call to worship.
Baruch hu et Adonai Hamevolah. Adonai Hamevolah, Hamevolah, Le'olam va'ed. Hamevolah, Hamevolah,
So before the Shema, we have two blessings, and the first one is a blessing about creation, the Yotzer Or.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam yotzer or uvarei hoshe oseh shalom uvarei et hakol hameir la'aretz v'ladarim alecha b'rachamim uvtulo mechadesh b'chol yom tamid me'aseh v'reshit ma rabu masecha Adonai kulam b'chokma asita ma'ala ha'aretz kinyanecha titbarach Adonai Eloheinu al sheba me'aseh v'yadeha Va'al ma'orei or she'asita yafa'arucha sela. Or chadash al tizon ta'ir v'nizkeh hulanu meheira le'oro. Baruch atah Adonai yotzer ha'amorot.
And the second blessing is a blessing about revelation, about Torah, that out of love, ahava, God gave us the Torah.
Ahava rabba ahatanu Adonai Eloheinu and lakut olav teira hamota aleinu ba'avur avotenu va'imotenu shebatu veha avotenu ve'imotenu ba'lamdenu chechayim kintechonenu lamdenu hamrahim aleinu v'tein b'libenu lehavinu haskil lishmoa le'omod ulamed lishmor v'laso ukayim et kol divrei Talmud Torah be'ahava v'ha'er einenu b'torateha v'dabek b'beinu b'mitzvoteha ve'yahet l'vaveinu lahava u'yira et shemeha v'lo nevorosh v'lo nekalem v'lo nekashir le'olam va'ed ki veshim kodsheha hagadol v'hanora b'tachnu nagila v'nismecha b'shuatecha.
And we continue with the Shema, the statement of our faith that there is only one God, and that is our God. Zoe will continue with the Ve'ahavta. Just as God loves us, we love God back.
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודך. והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבניך ושיננתם לבניך. ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשופך ובקומך. וקשרתם לאות על ידך והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך. וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך. למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיהם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתיהם מארץ מצרים להיות להם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם.
And Zoe's grandmother, Fran Weinstein, is going to do the English of the Ve'ahavta.
Love Adonai with your God with every heartbeat, with every breath, with every conscious act. Keep in mind the words I command you today. Teach them to your children. Talk about them at work, whether you are tired or you are rested. Let them guide the work of your hands. Keep them in the forefront of your vision. Do not leave them at your door of your house or outside your gate. They are reminders to do all of my mitzvot so that you can be holy for God. I am Adonai, your God. I led you out of Egypt to become your God. I am Adonai, your God.
And Zoe's friend, Caitlin Cohen, is going to read an introduction to the Michamocha, the Song of the Sea that we sang when we were liberated from slavery in Egypt.
Sing the song of men and women, joined in understanding and respect. The song of God's miracles, an earth protected and cherished, a gift for our children and the generations to come. The song of a land once ravished by war, now quiet and content, her soldiers home to leave no more. The song of a world redeemed, the song of peace.
Thank you, Caitlin. And we continue with Michamocha, a happy song. Zoe's uncle David Goodman has a beautiful reading.
We give thanks to you, O God, for this Shabbat day, which unites us as a community of faith and hope. For the holiness of Shabbat, which can lead us to fulfill the best that is in us, we give thanks. For the memories of Shabbat, enriched by generations of our people who observed it and from it drew courage in the face of hardship and light to banish darkness, we are grateful. We offer thanks for the peace of Shabbat, the day consecrated to family love. Oh God, our turning to you exalts our humanity. You are the joy of our lives, the source of its greatness, its power, and its beauty. Help us, O God, to find inspiration from the coming week. Help us find peace within ourselves and one another.
Thank you. I was going to ask you to introduce us to your lovely little daughter.
Yes.
Oh, who is this? What's your name? What's your name? What's your name?
This is Robin.
Hi, Robin.
And this is Zoe's cousin.
Ah, nice to meet you.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. What's your name?
I'm Rabbi Singer, and it's nice to meet you. And what's your mom's name? Mom, right?
Mm-hmm.
What's mom's name?
I'm Gail.
Hi, Gail. Nice to meet you.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. We're going to continue with the tefillah. And if you choose to, you may stand. We'll see your stomachs, but that's okay. Or you may just stand internally. Zoe, take it away.
Adonai Sefatai, Sefatai Tita, Ufi Yagid, Tehilateha. Adonai Sefatai, Sefatai Tita, Ufi Yagid, Tehilateha. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu v'Elohei Avoteinu v'Imotenu Elohei Abraham Elohei Yitzchak Elohei Yaakov Elohei Sarah Elohei Rivka Elohei Rahel Elohei Leah Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor v'Hanora El Elyon Gomel Hasadim Tovim v'Konei HaKol v'Zocher Hasdei Avot v'Imahot v'Mevi v'Ula Livnei v'Nehem L'ma'an Shemo v'Ahava Melech Hoser U'Moshiach U'Magen Baruch atah Adonai Magen Abraham v'Ezrat Sarah Atah Gibor Le'olam Adonai Mehayeh HaKol Atah Rav Moshiach Morid HaTa'al Mekokel Hayim Behesed Mehayeh HaKol B'Rahamim Rabim Somech Noflim B'Rafei Holim U'Mitir Asirim Umekayim emunato bishenei afar michamo haba agivulo umigomela melech nini umehayeh umatzia Yeshua v'ne'eman atah l'hayotako Baruch atah Adonai Mahayeh ha'kol. Nekadesh et shimcha ba'olam Hashem shmakdishimo to bishmei marom kakatu al yanivieha zikaron ze'el zeveyomar kadosh 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 Adonai Sevaot melo kol haaretz kevodo adir adirenu Adonai adonenu ma'adir shim kol haaretz baruch elo Adonai min hamo echad hu Eloheinu hu avinu hu mokeinu Umoshenu v'hu yomshenu, Rahamam le'nei kol hai. Ani Adonai Eloheihem, Yimloch Adonai le'olam. Elohai etzion, Ador v'ador, Hallelujah. Ador v'ador nagi kolecha, U'eta netzadim kedushacha nakdish. V'shiv haha Eloheinu mipinu lo yamush, le'olam va'ed Baruch atah Adonai.
And Yismachu is a prayer about Shabbat, a great gift that we have received, where we are able to renew ourselves once a week. Yismachu, rejoice. Go ahead.
ישמחו במלכותך, ישמחו במלכותך, שומרי שבת וקוראי עונג שבת. ישמחו במלכותך, ישמחו במלכותך, שומרי שבת וקוראי עונג שבת. מקדש שבי, מקדש שבי שבת, כולם יספרו ויתענגו בטובך שבת. ישמחו במלכותך, ישמחו במלכותך, שומרי שבת וקוראי עונג שבת. והשביעי רצית בו וקידשתו שבת, המדת ימים אותו קראת שבת. ישמחו במלכותך, ישמחו במלכותך, שומרי שבת וקוראי עונג שבת. למעשה וראשית. ישמחו במלכותך, שומרי שבת וקוראי עונג שבת. ישמחו במלכותך.
Zoe's going to tell us what that means in English.
Those who keep Shabbat by calling it a delight will rejoice in your realm. The people that hallow Shabbat with delight in your goodness, for being pleased with the seventh day, you hallowed it as the most precious of days, drawing our attention to the work of creation.
And Zoe's grandparents, Diane and Bob Creighton, have a special prayer for her. You're muted still. Yeah, go ahead. Thanks.
Our precious Zoe, so wonderful to see you. We want you to live each day to the fullest, to get the most out of each hour, each day, and each age of your life. If you do, you can look forward with confidence and look back without regrets. Be yourself and strive to be your very best. Dare to be different and follow your own star, and don't ever be afraid to be happy and enjoy what is truly beautiful. Love with all your heart and soul, and believe that those who you love also love you. Forget what you have done for your friends and remember what they have done for you. Disregard what the world owes you and concentrate on what you owe the world. When you are faced with a decision, make that decision as wisely as possible and then forget it. The moment of absolute certainty never arrives. There is inside you all the potential to be whatever you want to be and all the energy to do whatever you want to do. Imagine yourself as you would like to be, doing what you want to do, and each day take one step toward your dream. If you do, one morning you will wake up to find you are the person you dreamed of, doing what you wanted to do simply because you had the courage to believe in your potential and to hold on to your dreams. Also remember this: blessed is the generation in which the old listen to the young, and doubly blessed is the generation in which the young listen to the old. Zoe, we are very proud of you. Congratulations.
That's very lovely. Thank you. And we now ask that God accept our prayers as well. Ritzay.
Eloheinu ve'eloheinu b'motenu, ritzei v'menachatenu, kodshenu b'mitzvotecha, v'tin chalkeinu b'toratecha, sabenu b'tuvecha, v'samchenu b'yeshuatecha,
And as a Thanksgiving prayer, the Hoda'ah, we have a whole group of family members, aunts, uncles, and cousins, Russell, Heidi, Emma, Richard, Kelly, Megan, and Morgan Beck, Robert, Sarah, Evan, and Nora Goodman, and Rachel Newman.
For the expanding grandeur of creation, worlds known and unknown,
galaxies beyond galaxies, filling us with awe and challenging our imagination.
Modim Anachnu Lach.
For this fragile planet Earth, its times and tides, sunsets and seasons, Modim Anachnu Lach.
For the joy of human life, its wonders and surprises, its hopes and achievements, Modim Anachnu Lach.
For human community, our common past and future hope, our oneness transcending all separation, our capacity to work for peace and justice in the midst of hostility and oppression. Modim Anachnu Lach.
For high hopes and noble causes.
For faith without fanaticism.
For understanding of views not shared.
Modim Anachnu Lach.
For all who have labored and suffered for a fairer world, who have lived so that others might live in dignity and freedom, Modim Anachnu La.
For human liberties and sacred rights, for opportunities to change and grow, to affirm and to choose, Modim Anachnu Lach.
We pray that we may live not by our fears but by our hopes, not by our words but by our deeds. Baruch atah Adonai hatov shimcha ucha na'eh lehodot.
And we conclude the tefillah with a prayer for peace. Sim shalom.
Sim shalom, tova uvracha, hein v'chesed rachamim v'rachamim aleinu, v'yalko Yisrael, v'yalko Yisrael amen. Borecheinu avinu v'lanu ke'echad, v'yor panecha, ki v'yor panecha natata lanu, Adonai Eloheinu. Sim shalom, tova uvracha, hein v'chesed rachamim v'rachamim aleinu, v'yalko Yisrael, v'yalko Yisrael amen. Torah chaim v'ahavat chesed, v'ahavat chesed, u'tzedaka u'bracha v'rachamim v'chaim v'shalom. Sim shalom, tova u'bracha, hein v'chesed v'rachamim טוב בעיניך לברך את עמך ישראל בכל עת ובכל שעה בשלומך שים שלום טובה וברכה אין בחסד ורחמים עלינו ועל כל ישראל
And Aunt and Uncle Adam Gordon and Taylor Pettit will be doing the English version of that prayer.
O God, may we never become complacent, faltering in our effort to build a world of peace.
Let the nations know and understand that justice and right are better than dominion and conquest. May all come to see
that this is not by might nor by power, but by your Spirit that life prevails.
Thank you. And now we take a moment for those in need of healing, whether of body, of mind, or of spirit. So I'm going to ask you to put in the chat any names that you're thinking of this morning or this afternoon, depending on where you are, for a prayer for healing for the Misha Berach. And I'll read them out loud. Or you can unmute also and just say the name. Michael Clarkey, Kara Gilman, Joan Agosta, Lynn Yarmoth,
Kirsten Walsh,
Babette Cooper, Jean Kramer, Chuck Kramer, and Myrna Barth. And I'm Elise Bodnar, Pamela Mangus, Gloria Mangus. And I'm sure there are many that we have in our hearts as we join together in the Misha Berach, the prayer for healing, and think of those who are lonely and need of healing throughout the world.
Hoshienu v'ni v'sheya
And we hope that all the prayers of our mouths that we have expressed today will be acceptable to God. Yehiyu l'ratzon.
רצון אמרי פי, והגיון ליבי לפניך. יהיו לרצון אמרי פי, והגיון ליבי לפניך. אדוני צורי, אדוני צורי, אדוני צורי וגואלי. אדוני צורי, אדוני צורי, Adonai Tzuri v'goali. Yihiu l'ratzon imrei fi, v'hegion libi lefanecha. רצון אמרי פי, והגיון ליבי לפניך. אדוני צורי, אדוני צורי, אדוני צורי וגואלי. אדוני צורי, אדוני צורי, אדוני צורי וגואלי. רצון אמרי פי, והגיון ליבי לפניך. אדוני צורי, אדוני צורי, אדוני צורי וגואלי. אדוני צורי, אדוני צורי, אדוני צורי וגואלי.
As I mentioned earlier, a bat mitzvah is the moment when a young woman, young girl, is finally responsible for the commandments. And on behalf of a congregation is able to say a blessing to which we can all say amen because she is obligated. So the highest honor that any person can have in Judaism is the aliyah to the Torah, the blessing that is said over the Torah. So this morning, as Zoey becomes a bat mitzvah, she's not only going to chant from the Torah, but she's going to actually have her first aliyah to the Torah. But first, she's going to explain to us what the Torah is all about. Zoey.
This is the holy message of Torah. You shall be holy, for Adonai your God is holy. Each human being, though dust and ashes, can be holy. The Torah's words summon us to righteousness. The Torah's message inspires us to action. To be holy, we must not turn to false gods or deal deceitfully with one another. We must not insult the deaf nor place stumbling blocks before the blind. Revere your mother and father, love the stranger, care for the widow and orphan. Do not gossip or hate. Judge poor and rich equally. Have one law for you and the same law for the stranger who lives with you. Love your neighbor as yourself. Act towards others as you wish they would act towards you. What is good and what does Adonai demand of you? Only to do justly, love mercy, and walk humbly with your God.
Ki mitzion tetzei Torah, ki mitzion tetzei Torah, Odevar Adonai mirushalayim, Baruch shenatan Torah, Torah, Baruch shenatan Torah, Torah, La'amo Yisrael b'kedushato.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad.
Echad Eloheinu Gadol, Adonenu Kadosh Shemo.
Echad Eloheinu, Gadol Adonenu, Kadosh Shemo.
Gadol Adonai iti, u'nerammema shemo yachadav.
There you go. You can go put it over there so she has it to read the Torah. Okay. Now,
The story of Balak, the king of Moab, begins with the Jewish people camped outside of Moab. They had been wandering through the desert for a long time after fleeing from slavery in Egypt. As they made their way towards the promised land, the Jewish people had conquered a number of cities. These events and the sheer size of the large encampment had Balak feeling quite nervous and fearful for his city. Balak decided to try and enlist the help of a prophet of the nations named Balaam. So he sends 3 messengers to bring Balaam to Moab. The king's first group of messengers returns to report that Balaam has refused to come, as he has been forbidden from cursing the Jewish people. In desperation, the king sends another group of messengers, more distinguished than the last, back to persuade Balaam. The second group of messengers ask Balaam if he will come to the king and curse the Jews. The king says he will reward him greatly and give him a very great honor. Balaam tells them to stay overnight and he will ask God's permission to go with them. God comes to Balaam in his sleep that night and speaks to him. God tells him that he can go, but with the caveat that he can only say what God tells him to when he gets there. On the way to the king, something very peculiar happens. Balaam's donkey begins to behave oddly, veering off the path, and later refusing to move, even lying in the middle of the road. Each time, Balaam beats her to force her back on the path. The final time, much to everyone's surprise, the donkey speaks to Balaam. She asks him questions such as, "Haven't I served you well all these years you have ridden me? And why have you beat me these 3 times? These questions led Balaam to the realization that maybe there was a reason why the donkey was stopping. At that moment, an angel reveals herself to Balaam. Balaam immediately repents and tries to please the angel, who has conveyed her anger about him going with the messengers. Balaam offers to turn back, but the angel tells him to continue, reminding him only to say what God tells him when he gets there. Balaam goes to the Jews' camp and tries to curse them 3 different times, but he can only say what God tells him, so he ends up blessing the Jews each time. As a fun fact, the 3rd blessing Balaam made is a prayer which we still say today at Saturday services, and which we recited this morning at the beginning of our service, the Matovu, which translates to, "How fair are your tents, O Jacob, your dwellings, O Israel." The king is very mad at Balaam for not cursing the Jews and sends him away without a reward. However, we find out later in the Torah that while Balaam does not curse the Jews directly, he gives the king advice on how to go about defeating the Jews. And this advice, which the king followed, ends up being rather devastating for the Jewish people, resulting in a large loss of Jewish lives. For my Torah portion, I shall chant from the book of Numbers, chapter 22, verses 16 through 28.
תחמוד במקום כהן, הרב זהרה בלכה, בדרך מיל וחיה רזו. Rabbi Gail Swedlove.
Baruchu et Adonai Hamvorach. Baruch Adonai Hamvorach leolam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim, v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Vayavo'u el Bilam vayomru lo, kol amar Balak ben Zippor, al na timana mehalok Eli, ki kabeda habedcha ma'od, v'ho asher tomar, Eli e'eseh ukana kavali eit ha'am hazeh, vayakam Bilam vayomer elav de Balak imiten li Balak, mulo veto kesef v'zahav, lo ukol la'avor et fi Adonai Elohai, la'asot katana o gadola, va'ata shavuna vazeh, gam atem halayla va'eda, ma Yosef Adonai daber imi.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu Torat emet, v'chayei olam nata betochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Yahamod bimkom Levim, Devorah bat Ruven v'Rachel, v'Ruven ben Chaim v'Chaya. Francine and Richard Feinstein, or Feinstein. I'm sorry if I mispronounced it.
Weinstein.
Oh, W. Weinstein, okay.
Baruch Adonai Hamvorach. Baruch Adonai Hamvorach leolam va'ed. Baruch Adonai Hamvorach leolam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim, v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah. Amen.
Amen. Vayavo Elohim el Bilam, Laila, vayomer lo, im likro leha ba'u hagasim, kum lekitam va'ak, et hadavar asher daber eleha oto ta'aseh, vayakam Bilam, baboker v'yahavos et atono vayelehim sarei Moav, vayihar af Elohim ki holehu, vayiyatsev malach Adonai, baderet lesatan lo v'hu rokev otono, usnei na'arav imo.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu Torat emet, v'chayei olam nata b'tukmenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah. Amen.
Tachamo shlishi chaya bat Devorah v'Ruven, Ima shel bat Mitzvah.
Baruch Hu Adonai Hambarach. Baruch Adonai Hambarach Elam Ba'ed. Baruch Ata Adonai Eloheinu Melech HaOlam Asher Bahar Banu Mikol Ha'amim V'natan Lanu Et Torato. Baruch Ata Adonai Noten HaTorah.
Amen. Vatereh ha'aton. Et malach Adonai nitzav badereh. V'harbo shulufa b'yado. Vatei ha'aton min hadereh. Vateleh basadeh. Vayak bilam. Et ha'aton lechatotah hadareh. Vaya'amod malach Adonai. B'misho hakramim gader mizeh. V'gader mizeh. Vatereh ha'aton et malach Adonai. Vatilahetz el hakir. Vatilhatz et regel bilam el hakir v'yosef lehakotan.
Baruch Ata Adonai Eloheinu Melech HaOlam Asher Natan Lanu Torah Emet V'Hayei Olam Natan B'Tochenu. Baruch Ata Adonai Noten HaTorah.
תחמוד הבחורה בת מצווה, זהבה דבורה בת חיה, מפטיר חזק. The bat mitzvah.
Bottom is for after.
Baruch Hu et Adonai Hamvara. Baruch Adonai Hamvara leolam va'ed. Baruch Ata Adonai Eloheinu melech ha'olam asher bahar banu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et torato. Baruch Ata Adonai noten ha'torah. Vayosef malach Adonai Avor vayamod b'makom sar asher ein derech linto yamin usmol. Vatereh ha'aton et malach Adonai. Vatir batz tahat bilam. Vayihar af bilam. Vayachet ha'aton b'makel. Vayiftach Adonai et pi ha'aton. Vatomer levilam me'asiti leha. Ki hikitani zeh shalosh regalim. Baruch Ata Adonai Eloheinu melech ha'olam asher natan lanu Torat emet v'hayei olam nata b'tohenu. Baruch Ata Adonai noten ha'torah.
וזאת התורה אשר שם משה לפני בני ישראל על פי אדוני ביד משה.
The word Haftorah means conclusion and is a reading from the prophets after the chanting of the Torah portion. In 168 BCE, Antiochus, whom we know from the days of the Maccabees, was the king of what then was Judea. He forbade the reading of the Torah under the penalty of death. Our scribes then substituted a chapter of the prophets which was similar to the Torah portion that would have been read. We have kept this custom even after the Torah reading was reinstated. My Haftorah portion is from the book of Micah. Micah lived from 750 to 690 BCE and was a contemporary of Isaiah. He was born in a village and was appalled by the oppression of the peasants. He denounced luxury and the degeneracy of city life. The chief cities of Judah and Israel that should have been centers of religiousness and righteousness, he thought were places of irreligion and inequity. Therefore, Micah proclaimed that Jerusalem would share the same fate as the kingdom of Israel. Micah foresees a time where nations shall beat their swords into plowshare and learn war no more. Micah believes this is Israel's mission to humanity, and in writing of religion, he asks, "What does the Lord require of you? To do justly, and to love mercy, and to walk humbly with your God." For my Haftorah portion, I shall chant from the book of Micah, chapter 6, verses 1 through 5. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bahar bin v'im tovim, v'ratzav adivrehem hane'ema ariv be'emet. Baruch atah Adonai haboher b'torah uv Moshe avdo, uv Yisrael amo, uvinviei ha'emet v'tzedek. Shimuna et asher Adonai omer kumri ved heharim, v'tishmana hagvaot koleha. Shimu harim et riv Adonai, v'ha'et tanim moste aretz ki riv l'Adonai imamo, v'im Yisrael yitvahat. Ami me'asiti leha, uva'heletiha anye bi, ki ha'eletiha me'eretz Mitzrayim, umi beit abadim, beritiha v'eshlav lefaneha, et Moshe, Aharon u'Miriam. Ami zechorna mayatz, Balak melech Moav, ume'ana oto Bilam ben Ba'or, min hashtitim ad had Gilgal, lema'an dat seed kol Adonai. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, sor kol haolamim, sadik bechol hadorot, ha'el ha'ne'eman, ha'omer v'oseh, hamdaber umkayem, shekol devarav emet v'tzedek. Al haTorah v'al havodah v'al hanvi'im v'al yom hashabbat hazeh shenatata lanu Adonai Eloheinu likdusha v'limnuha lehavod u'tifaret. Al hakol Adonai Eloheinu anachnu modim la umvarhim ota. Yitbarashim habafi kol hai tamid le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai mekadesh hashabbat. Reading this portion with its unusual event, several questions come to mind. First and foremost, why does God permit Balaam to go to Balak if he does not want him to, and then gets angry when he does? For that matter, why does Balaam even want to go, knowing that he won't be able to curse the Jews as the king is wanting him to? Lastly, why does God send an angel to intervene who interacts with Balaam through his donkey and then still allow him to go, even after he acknowledges the angel's anger and offers to turn around? According to several of the commentaries on this portion, the key to answering all of these questions is to answer the second one, namely, why does Balaam want to go? Nachmanides, also known as Ramban, and Rabbi Don Isaac Abarbanel, in their interpretations of these verses, suggest that although God's permitting of Balaam to go to the king and God's anger with him for doing that appear to be a contradiction, they are actually not. Instead, God's anger with Balaam is not for going to the king, but for misrepresenting his intentions and the conditions upon which he has been permitted to go. As Rambam puts it, and behold, Balaam was expected to make all this known to Balak's princes, and to say to them, the Lord has authorized me to accept your invitation on the sole condition that I must not curse the people, and on the understanding that if he commands me to bless them, I shall bless them. But if they do not consent to these conditions, then they must leave me be. But Balaam, out of his intense desire to go, did not inform them of this, nor did he tell them anything. For Ramban and Rabbi Abarbanel, Balaam is thus a deceptive schemer. His intentional misrepresentation of his purpose and of what he has been permitted by God to do is a result of his wanting wealth, respect, or perhaps even a desire to defeat the Jews. Rabbi Pinhas Peli, who agrees with Rabbi Abarbanel and Ramban's assessment, captures just how deceitful Balaam's actions are. He states, after uttering some of the most lofty songs in praise of Israel, Balaam proceeds to offer their enemies some of the most sinister pieces of advice on how to go about destroying Israel. He goes on to describe this behavior as a perversion of his gifts. Balaam is an abuser of power, taking the status of prophet and all the respect and trust that comes with it and twisting it to serve himself. From this perspective, the humiliating events with the angel and the donkey could perhaps make more sense. The angel intervenes, in Rabbi Samson Raphael Hirsch's words, to get Balaam to give up all his schemes wholeheartedly. His interpretation suggests that this experience was meant to humble Balaam and let him know that God is not fooled by his phony respect. By having his donkey speak to him, a stunning intervention, the angel seeks to wake Balaam up to his sins. This lesson is lost on him, however, because, as we know, he goes on to betray God. So why all the drama? Why doesn't God just forbid Balaam from going to Moab in the first place? Rambam suggests an answer to this. In his interpretation, God wanted Israel blessed by a prophet of the nations. In other words, God wanted this non-Jewish prophet to bless the Jews to give credibility to Israel's claim on the Holy Land. I believe this is an important link in understanding how God was able to deliver the Jewish people to the Promised Land. This idea is also supported by the fact that this portion is one of the only 2 portions in the entire Torah that is named for a non-Jewish person, which underlines the importance of these events in the history of the Jewish people. Balaam is an abuser of power. He could be a modern-day politician who uses his status for profit. He is also like a two-faced friend who acts like he values your friendship and then turns around and secretly betrays your friendship by bad-mouthing you to buddy up to someone else, thereby enjoying the benefits of both friendships. He is also a person who makes an agreement and then looks for loopholes rather than adhering to the spirit of the agreement. God permits Balaam to go with the caveat that he only says what God tells him to. But God doesn't specify if he must do so the whole time. This is where Balaam found his loophole. I believe the lessons we should all take away from this Torah portion are not to pervert our gifts. We should remember to always be sincere in our relationships with friends, family, and coworkers, so that we don't find ourselves falling into the habit of manipulating people and situations for our own benefit. In Judaism, we are expected not just to study Torah, but to live Torah by our actions. Because of this, I am expected to do a social action mitzvah project as part of my bat mitzvah process. For my service project, I decided to do a few small projects rather than one big project, since due to COVID-19, we were in isolation. So I thought about a few things that I had the skills needed to do and that would be helpful to my community. In the end, I fostered kittens, started a YouTube channel to help kids learn to cook for their families, and made a second YouTube channel to read stories for children. My kittens' names were Willow and Oakley. Their mom gave birth to 5 kittens outside our house and then moved 3 of them. We assumed she would be back for Willow and Oakley, but after a long wait, she never came back. So I brought them inside, gave them a bath, and we set up a little kitten home in my room. I bottle fed them the first 3 weeks and took care of them for a total of 6 weeks. They both got adopted in December. The second thing I did was start 2 YouTube channels. One was for cooking and one for reading books for kids. They were both designed for kids because I wanted to help children help their families during the pandemic. I thought that if I could teach older kids how to cook, then they could cook some of the daily meals, and I thought I could help the younger children keep occupied while their parents worked. When I started the book channel, I was inspired by my little brother who was home from preschool spending so much time watching TV while my parents were teaching their classes online. And I wanted him to spend more time doing something which he enjoyed but was also educational. I started the channel so that he could just scroll through and find books that he wanted to listen to or read. I thought the other children would enjoy this too. The channel is just something positive to help them learn and to have fun at the same time. If you would like to watch any of my videos, you can find them at If you would like to watch any of my videos, you can find the cooking channel at Johanna Newman and the reading channel at Stories for Kids 2020. Here's a short video sampling of my projects. Enjoy.
I've been trying to do it right. I've been living a lonely life. I've been sleeping here instead. I've been sleeping in my bed. Sleeping in my bed. So show me family, all the blood that I will bleed. I don't know where I belong. I don't know where I went wrong. But I can write a song. I belong with you. You belong with me, my sweetheart. I belong with you. You belong with me, my sweetheart. I don't think you're right for him. Think of what it might have been. Took a bus to China.
Okay, now it's done. Now you can slice it and enjoy. Bye guys! I hope you guys enjoyed this recipe. Please like this video and subscribe to my channel and turn on post notifications so you never miss a video. Bye! And the trick-or-treaters came and the ghost handed out candy and they said, "Boo! Happy Halloween!" Scarecrows stand guard over candy corn sprouts. Milkweed pods open and monarchs fly out. There are so many people to thank who helped me prepare for this day. I think it is fair to say that for everyone, this has been a year filled with different challenges. And though today we are in a better and more hopeful place, we can't forget the sudden isolation of the past year. For all of you who know me well, you know that I am a very social person. Whatever I'm doing, I like to always be in the company of others. This could have been a really miserable year for me, but it wasn't. I was fortunate to have a number of wonderful people in my digital world who kept me company, made me laugh, and gave me just what I needed. First, my 7th grade teachers, Dr. K and Miss Soria. When my parents enrolled me in virtual school for the entire year, I felt a sense of dread at the thought of being isolated for so long. But your class each day was so wonderful and brought me so much joy. I can't thank you enough for your support. I would also like to thank my synchro team and coaches. Everyone was so encouraging and supportive along the way, and having synchro really took my mind off the stressful things that were going on. To my family, I want to thank my mom and my dad for helping me to plan commission practice for my bat mitzvah, and to my brother Wyatt for always cheering me on. To all of my grandparents, uncles, and cousins, and friends, many of whom participated in today's service, I love you and want to thank you for supporting me and for helping me make this service very personal and even more special. To my Temple Bethel family, I could not have reached this milestone without you. Thank you, Rabbi Singer, for helping me write my speeches and doing so many meetings with me to make sure I was progressing. Your insights and knowledge have been invaluable. Thank you to Cantor Bob, Barbara, Morris, Jory, and the choir for providing the lovely music and all the help. Planning and preparing the videos and facilitating the service. And a special great big thank you to Carol Lee for teaching me all my lines and for countless hours of practice and support. I truly could not have done this without you, Carol Lee. I also want to thank all of my other religious school teachers who have helped me learn my Hebrew and prayers along the way. Miss Andrea, Miss Stein, Miss Wendy, Miss Clarissa, Miss Ariel, and Miss Diana. And finally, I want to thank all my family, friends, and Temple Bethel community for supporting me and for attending my bat mitzvah. This day would not be possible without your support or nearly as special without your presence. To all of you, I'm so grateful. Thank you.
Siman tov, mazel tov, mazel tov, siman tov, siman tov, mazel tov, mazel tov, siman tov, mazel tov, mazel tov, siman tov, yeilanu. Siman tov, mazel tov, siman tov, mazel tov, mazel tov, siman tov, mazel tov, siman tov, yeilanu, 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 u'lechol Yisrael, yeilanu, yeilanu, u'lechol Yisrael, yeilanu, yeilanu, u'lechol Yisrael, yeilanu, yeilanu, mazel tov, mazel tov, siman tov, siman tov, mazel tov, mazel tov, siman tov, siman tov, mazel tov, mazel tov, siman tov, yehelanu. Siman tov, mazel tov, mazel tov, siman tov, siman tov, mazel tov, mazel tov, siman tov, siman tov, mazel tov, mazel tov, siman tov, yehelanu.
And we now return the Torah to the ark.
Yehallelu et Shem Adonai, ki niskav Shemo levado. Hodo al eretz v'shamayim, vayarem keren leyamo, tila lechol chasidav, livnei Yisrael hamekirovo. Hallelujah, hallelujah. Et chaim hi lama chazikim ba v'tomecheha meyushar tiracheha darchei noam v'chol netivoteha shalom. Hashivenu Adonai elecha v'nashuva Chadesh, Chadesh Yameinu, Chadesh Yameinu kekedem.
And now I'd like to invite Zoe's parents to offer her a blessing.
Zoe, this day has been a long time in the making, and the pride we feel as your parents cannot be overstated. You've worked incredibly hard to learn your prayers, your Torah and Haftorah portions, to write your speeches, and all that this day has entailed. You have done so during trying times in the midst of the pandemic and with a transition to distance learning and Zoom school. What a way to start middle school. And you rose to a standard of excellence. And beyond that, we have watched you grow into a wonderful young woman, creative, talented, and one who has a kind heart and a bright spirit. We could not be prouder of the person you have become or more hopeful for your future. As you stand here today, we would like to share a few thoughts with you. First, look at all that you have accomplished this year. Remember this: anytime you doubt yourself or something seems too hard, I want you to remember this experience and remind yourself that you can do it. Second, we want you to remember your Mitzvah project as an example of giving back to your community. And just as you did not accomplish any of these milestones in a vacuum, but with the help of many people who have supported you, know that no matter where you are always a part of something larger. Remember to take care of your community just as it takes care of you. Finally, today, as you become a bat mitzvah, we want you to remember that being a faithful Jew requires that you seek wisdom and truth and that you work for justice and peace. We conclude with a prayer for you.
Our precious Zoe, our hearts are one on this joyous day, the culmination of your hard work and dedication to your study of the Torah. We pray that you will grow each day in compassion for the needy, in concern for the stranger, and in love of all people. May the one who blessed our ancestors, Abraham and Sarah, Isaac and Rebekah, Jacob and Rachel and Leah, bless you on your becoming a bat mitzvah. May you grow with strength and courage, with vision and sensitivity, and may you always be certain of our love.
And while the family is all gathered together after that beautiful blessing, The cantor and I are going to offer you the Shechachayanu blessing. Yeah, all of you stay there. It's for all of you.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shehecheyanu v'kimanu v'higiyanu b'zman hazeh. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shehecheyanu v'kimanu v'higiyanu b'zman hazeh.
Blessed are you, Adonai, our God, for giving us life, for sustaining us, and for bringing us to this very, very special moment. Amen. And now the cantor and Barbara have a special song for you. Muted, Bob.
I will begin again. Zoey did an absolutely wonderful job.
Absolutely.
And Mom, words from the heart go directly to the heart. So on this Sabbath day, we give a Sabbath prayer from Fiddler on the Roof. And I usually play it on piano, but we get to do guitar today. May the Lord protect and defend you. May he always shield you from shame. May you come to be in Israel a shining name.
May you be like Ruth and like Esther. May you be deserving of praise. Strengthen them, O Lord, and keep them from the stranger's ways. May God bless you and grant you long
May the Lord fulfill our Sabbath prayer for you.
May God make you good mothers and
May he send you husbands who will care for you. May the Lord protect and defend you. May the Lord preserve you from pain. Favor them, O Lord, with happiness and peace. Oh, hear our Sabbath prayer.
And now our Melamed extraordinaire, Carolee Jaspin, who does all the bar and bat mitzvah training for young and old alike, is going to offer some words to you.
First of all, what a wonderful job. I'm so proud of you. It was just beautiful. Excuse me. I'm here to give you gifts from, this one is from B'nai B'rith. B'nai B'rith is the organization, the oldest service organization in the United States. And it is the organization that started all the Hillels on all the campuses in this country and probably other countries too. And you will use these, I'll tell you what they are. It's candlesticks that hopefully when you get to college, or even now, if you want to use them on Friday nights, you will use them in college at Hillel. Also, and you will get, I'll give it all to you later. Also, I'm representing Sisterhood, and Sisterhood gives you this book. Looks upside down when I see it. It's a Tanakh. You know what a Tanakh is. It has the whole Bible. Sisterhood helps the temple in many, many ways, especially with the kitchen and especially bringing in speakers. And you will enjoy this. It has everything in it, including your wonderful Torah portion. Also, when I think of you, Zoe, the word creative immediately comes to mind. Absolutely. You are one of the most creative people I know. First, you have a blog where you create different foods, and which you just showed us, and you teach people to cook. And I didn't know, but you also have a blog to read to kids, which is wonderful. In fact, with cooking, you led the youth group with the creative challah bake and then the creative hamantashen bake at Purim. And despite COVID, you were instrumental in our very successful creative year. And there you are, a synchronized swimmer, which is so difficult. Swimming in the creative and difficult, beautiful routines. And you create interesting mystery stories, you told me. The introduction that you read to me once was very enticing. I wanted to hear more. And creatively, you will get it published too. You also create lovely paintings and drawings. You are such a multi-talented person. It's wonderful. You use creative colors and creative subjects for your beautiful paintings, which you have shown me. And you have done such a great job today and all the previous days. I am going to miss your creative calls. Zoe called me every day. It was wonderful to hear from her. I am so proud of you, and I know that you will continue your creativeness. You will be creative in whatever you do for the rest of your life. Love you, honey.
So the only thing missing from our Zoom service is that if Carol Lee were there with you on the bima, she'd be jumping up and down, hugging and jumping. And
yes,
I wish we had taped the time when Elise did a kind of spoof of Carol Lee. It was wonderful, wearing very colorful clothing and jumping up and down, and yeah. But your bubbly personality conveys that without your having to actually move. We all love you, Carol Lee.
Great. Oh, love you all. I love you, Zoe. Really, I'm really amazed that somebody who is just a bat mitzvah now has so much talent, creative talent, and has done so much in your life. You don't waste a minute, and I'm proud of you for that. I'm proud of you anyway, but it's amazing to have done so much. Keep it up.
So Zoe, it's my turn now, finally, after everybody else has said everything I would say. But first of all, I have certificates for you. I don't have them in my hand. They're being mailed to you. And you already have them. What do you know? There should be 3. They got there really fast. I should have pretended that I was slipping them under the computer screen and they came up. So first of all, there is a nifty certificate from the youth group, the National Youth Group of the Reform Movement. I hope that's in there. That's it. Show it to everybody since you have it. There we are. It's a $250 gift certificate for you to go to Israel. There we are. Yeah. I hope that one day you will go either with Birthright or some trip. Yeah. Free trip. And then there's also a certificate. It's a donation we made to the Israeli Dogs for the Blind. Do you have that there? There, aren't they cute? Yeah, so as Jason Winston once said, we don't have enough money to get you a full dog, but we got you a couple ears or a tail, depending on, there it is. Yeah, a good cause. And then finally, there is your bat mitzvah certificate. There it is, double page, yeah, which says that you became a bat mitzvah during this Shabbat, which is Balak, your Torah portion. because, sometimes the thrill and the excitement of being in the middle of something like this, you kind of wake up the next day and wondered if it was all a dream, right? So when you get up tomorrow, you'll look at it and say, it really, really happened. So Zoey, of course, everybody said the wonderful things about you that I can only repeat about your creativity, your intelligence. You really probed your Torah portion and asked some very important questions and asked many questions. And that's what it means to be a Jew. You ask a lot of questions. My students in my Introduction to Judaism class who are interested in conversion are always so excited by the fact that they can ask questions in Judaism. And that's really who we are. I don't know if you know, we're B'nai Yisrael, the children of Israel, as in Jacob, whose name was changed to Israel. And Yisrael means contending with God. So we don't just, look at what it says in the Bible and go, fine. We start asking lots and lots of questions. And that's exactly what you did with this. And of course, your cooking channel is just absolutely delightful. I really enjoyed watching some of your demonstrations. And obviously, you used all those talents to do the challah bake and the hamantash bake and all that. But I want to add one thing. And oh, by the way, the blessing that your grandmother gave you, aside from the beautiful blessings of so many other people, especially your parents, but your grandmother, basically said you should be true to yourself. And the thing that I really admire about you, Zoey, is that you know who you are and you know what you believe and you stick to it. And you're very, very clear and very assertive about your opinions. And I think that's great. And as your grandmother said, us older generations should listen to the younger generation. At the same time, even better is if you could also listen to the older generation, right? Because we have a few things to teach, but you are your own person. And I love that about you. And I hope you never, ever give that up. Don't let anyone talk you out of it, because that is a wonderful, wonderful asset. And everybody today, including myself, everybody is so, so proud of you. You did a great job, and don't let it get to your head too much. Now, the cantor and I would like to bless you with the ancient priestly blessing. So, Bob.
Yivarech Adonai v'yishmerech.
May God bless you and keep you.
Yahweh Adonai panav alayich v'chunayich.
May God always be a shining presence in your life, and may you always be kept safe.
Yisau Adonai, Yisau Adonai panav alayich v'yasem layich, v'yasem layich, v'yasem layich b'shalom, b'shalom, b'shalom.
May God grant you the most precious of all blessings, the blessing of shalom, of peace, and of shalem, of wholeness. May your life always be whole. Amen.
Amen.
So before we get to the Aleinu, I just want to thank again the wonderful people involved in this bat mitzvah. Carolee, of course, who is our Melamedet extraordinaire, who not only that, but she runs the junior youth group. I mean, I don't know how you have the energy. You're the Energizer Bunny. We had a wonderful Bagels and Lox event a couple of weeks ago. It was lovely. And Zoey, among others, and Eva, who earlier read a prayer, served people, and their parents got involved, and it was just a wonderful event. And of course, all the teachers that are here today. I know Eileen Stein is here, and Gail Pro, who's our art teacher, and Wendy Golliff, who is one of your 5th and 6th grade teacher, and Clarissa Mangus, and I don't know who else is on because I can't see everybody, but it's wonderful to have all of you joining us today. And of course, our musicians, Cantor Bob, Morris Maduro, and Jory Yarmoff. And Jory and Morris, on top of all the wonderful music, did immense amount of recording and editing, which you saw a little snippet of. There are lots and lots of pieces that they did. So during the whole year and a half of being locked in and doing all our services on Zoom, we were so fortunate to have those beautiful pieces that were sung. And of course, Barbara Sorotnik, who accompanies Bob. And we have so many talented people in this synagogue. Elliot Levine and Amy Litt and Jim Orens and Marilyn Orens and Rena Maduro. There's so many people, and those are the people who sang on the Mishaberach prayer. So thank you everybody for making all this possible. And thank you for your contributions to all these B'nai Mitzvah and to all the services that we've done. I'm sure I've forgotten somebody, and please send me a chat privately so I can feel bad. Okay, we're going to continue with the Aleinu.
Aleinu.
Aleinu. Aleinu.
Aleinu.
Aleinu l'shabeach l'Adon hakol, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות אדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא. שהוא נוטה שמיים ויוסר ארץ, ומושב ידו בשמיים ממעל, ושכינתו זו בגבהי מרומים, הוא אלוהינו אין עוד, אמת מלכנו אפס עולתו, כך כתוב בתורתו, וידעת היום להשבות אל לבבך, כי אדוני הוא האלוהים בשמיים ממעל, ועל הארץ מתחת, אין עוד, אין עוד. ככתוב בתורתך, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד.
ונאמר, והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ, ביום ההוא, יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד.
During this very joyous occasion, we take some time to think of those who are no longer with us. May their memories be for a blessing. There are a number of members of Zoey's family who we very much miss and who are, I'm sure, in spirit with us. Rick's grandparents, Letitia Covington, Samuel Covington, Margaret McDonald, Alexander McDonald. Johanna's grandparents, Regina Newman, Reuben Newman, Adele Weinstein, and Howard Weinstein. Johanna's uncle, Jeffrey Weinstein. Johanna's aunt, Joyce Gordon. Her aunt, Sharon Keeley. Rick's aunt, Barbara Cruz, and Rick's uncle, Philip Cruz. And Eli Calvillo, friend of the family. And we also, this Shabbat, offer our condolences to Avi Altman, whose husband, Harel Altman, passed away this past week. We're observing Shloshim, the first 30 days of mourning for Doris Dubinsky, mother of Diane Eskrit, for Irene Sherman, mother of Andrea Sherman, for Pauline Geerlings, mother of Christine Liebman and grandmother of Sam and JC Liebman. If anyone here is in Shiva Shloshim or the first year of mourning and would like to add a name, please do so in the chat or you can unmute.
You know, my brother passed away suddenly in February, and I'd like a prayer to be said for him.
Okay, well, we will include him in the mourner's Kaddish. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
And of course, all the people who died in the collapse of the condo in Miami Beach. Thank you, Bob. A really big tragedy. And we're observing yard sites this Shabbat for Evelyn Nathanson, Mort Shurkin, Hyman Stein, Ken Feldman, Evelyn Russell, Isadore Walkman, Arnie Geller, Oscar Ginsberg, Saul Blank, Shirley Edwards, Naomi Feldman, Mary Fendel, Reese Marcus, Arlene Nunn, Eva Wall, Murray Badofsky, William Marks, Rose Burstein, Harry Burstein, Robert E. Campbell, Wanda Campbell, Joseph Goldware, Fanny Goldware, June Rose Goldware, David Goldware, Myron Bernard Goldware, Julie C. Goldware, Ida Kaplan, Ben Mushkin, Lillian Mushkin, Joseph Stone, May Stone, Hyman Taylor, Sarah Taylor, Colonel James K. Reese. And if anyone is observing a yard site would like to add a name, please do so either in the chat or by unmuting. And of course, we think of those who perished in the Holocaust and have no one to say the mourner's Kaddish for them. Please stay muted, but please join me in the mourner's Kaddish. Yikadal v'yikadash shemei rabbah, ve'alma divrach echutei v'yamlich malchutei, v'chayachonu v'yomechonu v'chayei lechol beit Yisrael, v'agalau v'zman kariv imru, amen. Yehei shmei rabbah mevarach le'olam u'almei almaya, yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shemei dekudashah b'richu, Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbachata v'nechemata, da'amiran be'alma v'imru, amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru, amen. Oseh shalom bimromav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru, amen. May the source of peace send peace to all who mourn, and comfort to all who are bereaved, as together we say, amen. And our closing song is Salam, Shalom, the prayer for peace that ends the mourner's Kaddish, and of course said in two languages, Arabic and Hebrew.
Shalom Aleinu, Odevo Shalom Aleinu, Odevo Shalom Aleinu, Ve'am Kulam. Odevo Shalom Aleinu, Odevo Shalom Aleinu, Odevo Shalom Aleinu, Ve'am Kulam. Salam Aleinu ve'al kol ha'olam, Salam, Salam, Salam. Shalom Aleinu ve'al kulam. Odevo Shalom Aleinu, Odevo Shalom Aleinu, Odevo Shalom Aleinu ve'al kulam. Salam Aleinu ve'al kol ha'olam, Salam, Salam, Salam. Shalom Aleinu, Odevo Shalom Aleinu ve'al kulam. Odevo Shalom Aleinu, Odevo Shalom Aleinu, Odevo Shalom Aleinu ve'al kulam. Odevo Shalom Aleinu, Odevo Shalom Aleinu, Odevo Shalom Aleinu ve'al kulam. Odevo Shalom Aleinu, Odevo Shalom Aleinu, Odevo Shalom Aleinu ve'al kulam.
We continue with the Kiddush, which Cantor Bob is going to lead. Thank you.
Hakim Brachna Yom HaShabbat Vayikadshehu Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech Haolam Borei Peri Hagafen And we say, L'chaim.
Oh, I was going to say amen, but l'chaim
Thank
too.
you.
And a motzi, so everyone can go have lunch.
Hamotzi lechem min haaretz. We give thanks to God for bread. Our voices rise in song together as our joyful prayer is said. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Hamotzi lechem min haaretz.
Shabbat Shalom, everybody. And please feel free to stay on the Zoom if you want to chat and reconnect. And I hope everyone has a good lunch after this and a great weekend.